60 seconds. That's all the time you're going to get to send that in. Make sure you really think about those 60 seconds because you're going to get a lot of things into that video in a short space of time. Joining me today, though, is Taco, who's been here all day, and Dazer as well now. Interesting little skirmish between your two teams earlier on, eh?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's unfortunate for us. At least we were kind of upset, actually, not going to lie, about the defeat, because we kind of threw it over, especially in the second game. I'm going to say, though, kind of embarrassing that you lost with double hog, double invade.
Hey, who needs cheese? That's all I'm saying.
Well, you did apparently in the first game, and it
I
didn't
don't know
work.
about that, considering the second one and how that outcome came.
Oh, this feels great. Keep going, keep going.
Play a real game and you win. No cheese is needed. Well, that's what you guys need to know.
Let's talk about a real game, because yesterday Sanguine are now going to be up against Dignitas again for the second round of things. And we saw Sanguine's performance earlier on today and yesterday. And not the greatest things out of them so far, but Dignitas as well. Got off to a good start today, ShadowNightmare especially.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited for Shadow.
Well, we'll see what Shadow can do in this game.
ShadowNightmare, he's kind of like the voice of the team a little bit. Like when we're winning or when we're losing, he's kind of the guy that like speaks up and says like what we can do or like how we can improve. Suntouch
a little bit slow there, so we may come back to him a little bit later on. But he has been slow all day, to be fair. You even called him out yourself.
Okay, look, honesty is the best policy. That's all I'm saying. Anytime I'm doing something ridiculously dumb on stream, he always makes sure to let me know. I just had to return the favor.
Because it's a lad as well, it's even better. I mean, talk to me as well, Daisy. Obviously, you guys played against Dignitas earlier on. This squad looks a little bit better today than what we saw of them yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. They probably got the land jitters out on the first day. So, like, the first day is gone now.
Yep.
Now they're coming into the second day a lot more confident and a lot more prepared.
We'll see what they can do, because they're going to be up against as well, I believe, Cherryo in the jungle for Sanguine. Now, we saw yesterday he got the Guardian Athena banned away from him in the jungle. He went for the Kraken, but he seems to like these Guardian picks. Sako, is there a certain reason for this? Is it just the style from Sanguine?
I think that's honestly just Sanguine's preferred playstyle. They really seem to be trying to funnel teams into this utility sort of kit coming out of their team. And I'm not sure I really agree with how stubborn they seem to be with trying to make it work, because you could see in the set against Elevate had them figured out. They knew how they wanted to combat it, they knew how they wanted to counter it, and rather than opt for a different route, they chose to go into the same utility, same Guardian composition. And I just feel like Dig's going to be prepared for it as well.
Yeah, I do think that in the set against the last set that they played, the Athena pick was a lot more force than the Kraken, it seemed to me at least. And just because of that, the draft seemed to suffer. Yeah,
it seemed to come back and haunt them a little bit in that set as well, especially because of day one we saw the Athena banned against them both sets that they played, and then Elevate were like, well, let's let it through because we know this is a potential thing they're going to do. Is that kind of how the LAN weekends work out, Dazer? You know, as a coach, like, do you sit there and look at what other teams are doing and go, maybe we should let this through because now we know what they're going to pick, we can counter it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We look at every single game that's played and we see like roughly how they're going to pick against us, and probably like just think of how generally they're going to pick, and yeah, we take a lot of information from those games.
Okay, well, Cherryo obviously is one of the junglers, and we've also got FrostiaK on the other side for Dignitas here. Frosty's had a bit of, once again, he's hit or miss is our FrostiaK, and last time we saw him, he had a pretty good time, right, Taco?
Yeah, I definitely think that first day, FrostiaK, you know, I think the team in general was just a little bit sloppy in the first games that they played yesterday. But I think today, FrostiaK is definitely ready to go. You could see he turned up. I think in both games against Orbit, he had a pretty good performance. It's just they fell short in the first game, managed to swing it out in the second, and he really came back.
Well, so FrostiaK isn't very scared at all to say his opinion. I interviewed him earlier on, and this is some of the outtakes.
This year, I think we have much stronger roster. We got Ducky, he's a beast. He's gonna carry us. His 160 centimeters can get us to third place. Nika, if you get sold by him, you have to be ashamed.
Yeah.
What a great video.
Now, the worst thing is, that's just a bit hot banter for you, but the best thing about that is, like, if you're going to call people names, you want to make sure your team don't fall to it as well. Because he basically said Ducky's going to carry them, and if you get soloed by Nika, you should be ashamed. That's what happened to Ducky yesterday.
All right, Ducky was
Here's the defense. You ready?
He was sleeping. He was jet lagged, you know, all these other factors coming into play.
But so was Nika.
No. Nika doesn't count though. Nika was warmed up. He was prepared. Ducky just needed a little bit of time, but the duck is coming. The duck is coming today, and he is ready. He's not going to get soloed by Nika in a wave. He's not going to take that 500 damage from creeps for no reason. He is, honestly, I predict him to solo Nika.
And actually, go into a bit more detail from me, Daisy, about these two solo laners, Nika and Ducky as well. Both of them relatively new to the scene in terms of SPL play overall, but they both seem to be getting themselves a good established base off where they're performing from now.
Yeah, so they're obviously both new to the LAN environment. They're both here for the first time, which is really interesting to see, especially in the solo lane matchup. And I guess maybe Nika's taking it a bit better than Ducky, maybe, like obviously with the solo kill, which happened. That might be a part of it, at least in terms of mentality.
But Ducky seems to have a playstyle as well, Taco, where he's not scared to take on trades, he's not scared to invade. He seems very consistent in the solo lane overall, at least through the SPL season.
I think Ducky is kind of one of those players who's always been regarded pretty highly by other players in the SPL, especially considering that he used to be a sub for Panthera,
Epsilon, you know, whatever you want to call it, they've been in a load of names.
NRG.
And he played so well
recently.
on this. Whenever he subbed in, he played amazingly.
He did amazing whenever he filled in for NRG, and I think that alongside of how his confidence in himself, he honestly is a really confident player. He does feel pretty comfortable in that solo lane role, and I think against Orbit earlier, you know, he definitely debuted that he's definitely ready for today.
We'll see if he's ready for this one as well, because the picks and bans are flying through right now, and it looks like Dignitas have also taken the same stance here as the boys of Elevate and gone, you know what, you want Athena? Take Athena.
Exactly. It seems that obviously Dig watched the last sets and they didn't think the Athena was that powerful, so they're thinking maybe we can give it to them and maybe they won't be as powerful as they think it is.
Where do you want to see Taco Dignitas go to here with their first two picks? After Anhur locked in, so I'm going to give you one more option.
I mean, that
good
doesn't
call,
surprise me
Taco.
at all.
Good call. Great call. Hun, Batz, and Anhur. What a great decision there. Very similar, actually, when we look at this to the composition that Elevate drafted in the first set.
I think Dig's going to pretty much go over the same strategy. And FrostiaK's definitely been doing great on the Humbats today, like we saw in that second game against Orbit earlier. He's going to be trying to do the same thing that World Edit was doing on that Humbats last game, where he's going to try and disorient Sanguine enough to where they can't utilize their Guardian. They're most likely going to go for a Guardian heavy comp, I think. Still, I'm pretty sure that's going to be an Athena leaning towards the jungle. And the fact that Dignitas got rid of the Cabrakan and Khepri options, that takes away a really strong control pick from Cherryo, and B, they're not going to have to worry about those reses.
Yeah, I do actually really like the fact that they have picked up the Humbats. FrostiaK, obviously in our games, he played amazing on it. And it just makes sense to give it him again.
Why the Humbats though overall? What's the matchup between him and Athena? Because we've seen Humbats gone to a couple of times against Athena jungle days. Is there a certain matchup there that we've not seen?
If I'm honest, I'm not really sure how the matchup works. It's not something that I see too often. So, I mean, generally speaking, like Humbats is really strong right now, I would say. Yeah. As a meta pick. And into Athena, it's probably going to do well.
And on top of that, we did see the Fafnir locked in for Sanguine there, so it kind of guarantees Athena won't be in the natural support role here. Most of the time, I guess you could kind of leave that open and leave it suspect, and you might actually just play Athena support.
Well, that's what I think, again, like I said, I think Sanguine's been way too stubborn about trying to commit to this comp. If they drop this first game to Dignitas, I feel like then they might consider adjusting their draft a little bit, but the fact is that they're still opting into this Isis pick. They really want to make this Isis, Athena, utility comp work, but I just don't feel as though it's going to complement the other well enough to combat what Dig's drafting into, and that's a heavy CC comp coming right back from Team Dignitas with the Bacchus flop and the Humbats ult.
Well, it looks like Dignitas have really scouted out and looking at Arkkyl here as well. They take Anhur for themselves. They take away Rama in the counterbans and Xbalanque as well. Daza, is that something you want to try and do to limit? Is Arkkyl got a smaller god pool or something?
Yeah, I think he does generally have a smaller god pool. I think the Xbalanque ban is actually really good here, considering that one of the things that Sanguine seemed to be lacking in their comps, especially in the last set, was that they don't really have a hyper carry to carry them through the late game. It's just sort of a comp that they need to be rolling if they're to do well. Like, they need the momentum, and if they don't have that, then they're going to struggle. So that Xbalanque ban does make sense to me.
And there's a Bellona. We've not seen one come out for Dignitas just yet. We've only really seen Nika pick it up so far, but Ducky should be pretty established on this Taco.
I think that's exactly the reason why Ducky opted to pick the Bellona as opposed to something that he might be a bit more accustomed to, like a Sun Wukong or even an Osiris. It's just that if he takes away the Bellona pick from Nika, that's something that Nika is pretty comfortable on. And again, they're just opting into that with Suntouch taking the honor from Arkkyl. You got Ducky taking away the Bellona from Nika.
If I'm honest though, I don't really like the Bellona pick personally. I feel like into that comp, it doesn't do that amazingly. On the whole, I mean, she's just going to be able to get CC'd down by their comp. Like, they have so much CC drafted on the Athena, Fafnir, and Isis so far, and the tier, that's a great matchup for him.
I really feel that Hoi at the end there going to be locked in for Arkkyl, and it's a Chronos pick finally for Dignitas. More than likely ShadowNightmare, you expect it, or
I would expect Anhur mid.
Is Anhur going mid? I was about to say that.
That's what I was just about to say. I honestly feel like it's going to be Anhur going into the middle lane. If I know my boys, I could be completely wrong about that because they have a tendency to surprise me as well at these events.
Out of interest, why the Anhur mid lane? What does Anhur bring to the mid lane that you want to see it put there?
Kill potential.
Yeah, he has a lot of kill potential, that much is true. But I think generally speaking, I don't actually value it that much. I think ShadowNightmare on the whole is a lot better on these burst mages, these really controlling mages which can just sit back and just do damage from a distance. And I think, generally speaking, I don't actually like the pick that much.
Oh, Cherryo and the boys are Sanguine looking at it, and there's Dignitas as well. It's time to head over to our casters today, F-Dot and Anatoly, to bring us what could potentially be the best game of today. Boys, talk us through this game.
Sanguine Dignitas. Last time around, we saw Dignitas not so happy.
Not so happy at all, but this time they're making the necessary adjustments. They banned away the Khepri. They're afraid of the sustained composition that Sanguine brought last time around, and they're preparing with a little bit more flexibility. I like the composition out of Dignitas also with this Chronos on her. We don't really know if that's going to go mid or dual lane.
Well, I'm definitely the Anhur's going mid, flat out. Something that we've seen before. Not only does the Anhur have the ability to go ahead and like make these plays during the early and mid game, but also the Chronos can sit there and sort of just bake in that lane. That's exactly what we'll see. ShadowNightmare has played this Anhur, and Hinderman S specifically said, "Hey, what does this Anhur really bring?" And kill potential was the snap answer out of Taco's mouth, and I got to go with that one. When it comes to these individual fights by the mid camps and by the situations around there, Anhur really excels and can start causing problems at a very early phase of the game, earlier than some other mages.
To be fair, Suntouch on the Chronos also has kill potential. If ShadowNightmare was playing the Chronos rather, there is kill potential there, but to play Chronos in the dual lane, that means that you're going to be farming and left alone for quite a while, and it's more beneficial, I would say, for Dignitas to run this Chronos to get to that mid to late game for him in the dual lane where he would get the levels necessary as opposed to running in mid.
Exactly, just less trouble for the Chronos to really run into. Cherryo is going to reprise his role on the jungle Athena. Y'all know that I absolutely love this choice, but last time around, when we saw Sanguine play it, there wasn't enough damage really surrounding the jungle Athena. We had just lackluster damage all around. I think the tier with Nika playing this character, not only will it be a little bit more aggressive, but it's going to provide a little bit more damage, and that should really help Cherryo out in the jungle.
It's all about the crowd control for Sanguine. Last game they ran the Bacchus Isis Athena. This time they're switching things up, trying to get more damage, running the Fafnir on Murrdurr, trying to get Arkkyl in a better spot in the late game. Hui does already enough late game damage once you get a mark of the Golden Crow on any target, especially if it's going to be a Bacchus that's very tanky.
Will certainly be able to go toe-to-toe with the Chronos. And like we said, as Cherryo shows his face over here in the solo lane, last time around, these two teams fought yesterday. Sanguine actually wound up with the win. Nika in some trouble. FrostiaK doesn't want to commit too hard. You've got a half rotation coming out of Dodo for the mid lane.
And it's going to be a purification burn with a nice rotation from Dodo. This means there's going to be more control in mid for Sanguine now. It's going to be FrostiaK have to be playing on the defensive. Without that important relic, there could be a lot of playmaking opportunities, especially with an Athena taunt into the Isis stun.
Speaking of playmaking opportunity, look at this surprise gank coming out of Murrdurr nice and early. Good stun on the Suntouch and the jump on top. Arkkyl, Sunny running back already. Nice and quick.
Ducky
nice
with the
quick.
first blood. He pays it back this time around. It's going to be beneficial now for Dignitas to control that solo side blue buff and speed buff off of that first blood.
And Nika falls down, turning it around like you alluded to. Last time we saw Ducky get soloed. Now he is the one doing the soloing. So 1 point for Dignitas.
Taco was right. The duck is coming right now, and
Absolutely.
just like that, it's very important also for a Bellona to get ahead because she has her kit that can accelerate so well in the 1v1. So now that Nika's a little bit behind, Ducky's going to hit level 5 first, and as long as Nika's not too close to the tower, Ducky doesn't have to really worry about getting fearless under that tower, so he can continue playing aggressive as long as the wave is continued to be in the middle.
Pink's coming out in the backside of Dignitas' jungle. Very curious as to who or what was really picking that out. There's nothing to be really gained or caught. Cherryo, you can see, heading into the back looking for an invade of his own. Not going to find anything at those back harpies, so he'll just head back to base. But like we were saying, Sanguine wound up finding not just 1, but 2 games above Team Dignitas yesterday, which for a lot of people is an upset. I certainly think that Dignitas is considered one of the top-end teams. What does it take for Sanguine to really replay and reprise that 2-0 victory?
Well, sometimes it's actually a big advantage being the quote-unquote underdog. You know, they came into this land as the 8th seed in this group right now, so there's not much expectations, but hold up on the left-hand side, Suntouch taking a lot of damage, but a good peel from BigMan's not going to be enough.
Not quite level 5, so no rewind available. Cherryo gets the last hit. In the jungle, Athena will be launched off to a nice start. That level 5 combine into the kill right there. Giant ultimate with the Defender of Olympus.
And that was because of the fact that the Purification was used earlier on in that engagement. It's going to be another gank attempt by Murrdurr just to poke out BigMan in the process. They want to be able to control the duel lane. They saw what happened in the match against Orbit specifically. When you leave Funballer alone, this time around, they don't want to let Suntouch get in the same position that Funballer was.
Not going to be allowed this time around. There's a Suns dropped up on BigManTingz. Arkkyl just wants to provide a little bit of space. His support's going to head back to base.
Speed Buff is about to respawn right now. Cherryo picking his up a lot, as well as FrostiaK, both heading into the solo lane now with Ducky being level 6, as well as Nika. Both teams just kind of still feeling each other out. It's still 1-1. Very even game right now.
Yeah, really, when we're looking at the compositions, totally, Dignitas, like we said, has the Anhur in the mid lane. It's going to allow them to make some of these 10-minute, 11-minute plays towards the Gold Fury. I'm really looking at an earlier than you might expect Gold Fury, maybe even before the 10-minute mark, because of the Anhur's ability to go ahead and create a little space in the mid lane and then bring the ultimate over there.
But on the flip side, Sanguine also have a great Gold Fury composition between the Isis and the Fafnir, but it's going to be a gank on the right-hand side.
Fearless into the ultimate out of the monkey, and Nika's going to be about half HP. Dashing forward is Cherryo, but much ado about nothing. Dignitas blow an ultimate, a very important one with FrostiaK. So with that Fear No Evil down, Sanguine can certainly look to take advantage.
But if they don't take advantage during that Fear No Evil cooldown, it's going to be favorable for Sanguine because of the fact that the Athena Purification is down. Dignitas, rather, should be able to take advantage of that for another 130 seconds.
Here's one of the nice things about the Athena jungle, is that the Athena doesn't make a gank off of the ultimate. Of course you can, and we saw that kill over there in the duo lane. FrostiaK absolutely needs an ultimate in order to make an impact. He's gonna, now that it's down, he's gotta wait the entire cooldown of Fear No Evil. Another 45 seconds. With the Athena, it's just a cooldown of taunt. You're going to come in pretty much whenever that taunt's available, so you can see more frequent opportunities come out of Cherryo.
That's true. The timing of the cooldowns also help out FrostiaK a little bit because it's shorter than the Purification, as well as the buffs that have respawn, so there's not much action going on in the future. So it's going to allow FrostiaK to continue onto the aggression wherever he really wants to go. And if I was FrostiaK right now, I'd be looking more towards the duel lane because I'm afraid that Suntouch is just constantly going to get picked off here, so you want to make sure that he transitions safely in the mid to late game.
And FrostiaK certainly going to be a big part of that. I expect them to start playing a little bit. Well, here's the deal. I would expect Dignitas to start playing a little bit more defensively because I would expect Sanguine to pay a little bit more attention to that Chronos. But we just haven't seen it totally. Sanguine is focused a little bit more on other parts of the map than the actual duel lane.
And because of that, Suntouch has been able to come back despite dying. He's actually about 200 gold ahead right now from Arkkyl.
Which, the 200 gold, when we talk about gold like that, it's less about, you know, having an actual impact on the game, and just as a barometer to really show where these players have gone. Like you said, a death on one player, an assist on the other, and the lead actually favors the opposite way. You might think taunt for Ducky right up into some of the damage out of Nika, but followed up, and there's a turnaround. FrostiaK puts Nika down for the count, and it's 2 for Dignitas.
Great map presence from FrostiaK, just making a rotation to the solo lane. He got able to get off the Fear No Evil before the Lawbringer came out. Nika had nowhere to go because he was getting pinned against the wall. Just perfect placement.
Here's some more damage in the jungle. Quickly turns into a fight. Ducky finds the ultimate. I honestly didn't expect much aggression there. I thought it was just going to be quick release, but instead, You can see ShadowNightmare came down into the speed buff. That's why we saw the ultimate out of Nika, trying to create the space for the successful invade, but it doesn't go the way. Suntouch gets stunned, and it's a hunter duel. Suntouch is going to rewind out of the ultimate from Arkkyl, and now it's basics on basics. But you're never alone with an Athena. Down from the sky comes Cherryo. No dash available. Can't find the taunt either, but the chase is on.
He's going to be able to find the taunt, but there's no stun available as the ricochet was just used. Nika, though, he's going to try to go for the kill on the right-hand side, but left-hand side, Suntouch gets taunted, dead by Arkkyl.
And Ducky, is he as lucky? Doesn't seem so. Both players will have to walk away from that situation. Jumped over the stun is FrostiaK. DarkDodo gets his shot missed, but there's a nice circle of protection. And the circle of death as Arkkyl falls down to the hand of ShadowNightmare. DarkDodo able to answer back. It's 1-for-1. Shadow's in a bad spot. Gonna jump right into the double kill. And DarkDodo winds up on the good side.
3-for-1 favoring right now Sanguine. Unfortunately for FrostiaK, his ultimate just came up. It was used earlier on during that gank in the soul lane that they found a kill onto Nika, and that should have triggered Dignitas to be like, okay, we don't have this important ultimate cooldown, let's play a little bit more carefully now and wait and reset. But they wanted to avenge Suntouch so badly that they over-rotated in the duel lane.
So for all the positives that I sang about the Anhur mid, I really like the Anhur mid for a lot of what we were talking about before. Whenever you make these plays, whenever you make these changes, looking at things like Athena in the jungle and Anhur in the mid lane, you're gaining a lot in different sort of off-label application, but you have to think about what you're missing from the norm, right? When we saw Cherryo at the Athena jungle before, I noted that they lacked some of the damage. Well, with ShadowNightmare, with the Anhur in the mid lane, you get a lot of this nice early game fight ability, but you lack these long, big AoE hits out of the mage. So with FrostiaK's ultimate down, there really is no giant ultimate available for Team Dignitas.
But a nice rotation from ShadowNightmare, able to pick onto Nika yet again. Off of the first blood from Ducky, it just seems that they're really leaning quite heavily on the soul lane. Already 3 deaths for Nika, and as a result, he's going to lose his tier 1 tower very early in the game.
And I like this play, speaking exactly to what I was talking about. You got to realize what you're losing, right? So ShadowNightmare, they didn't have that giant mage AoE, so with FrostiaK's ult down, there wasn't much there. But they do have tower damage, so Anhur shifting over, they play to their advantage. Right now, Sanguine, after they lose their tier 1 in the right, gonna look for a gold Fury. Down come the Suns, the pings come out, BigManTingz is here, but it's a little bit too late. Sanguine able to secure the gold Fury, and that'll push them ahead just a little bit, 1,000 gold in the lead.
Perfect recognition. The fact that Sanguine over-rotated on the right-hand side, taking advantage of Nika, opened the door for the Gold Fury to be taken right now. And then Sanguine, though, they're still going to be trying to defend the tier 1 mid tower. Very low share. He's going to be the first victim.
And there's a couple more victims on the menu as well. DarkDodo very low, narrowly escaping the damage out of Ducky. Dignitas focus on the kills and not the objective, so the tower will stand for now. FrostiaK going to clear out his own jungle, but here comes Nika, possibly chasing the jungler off of his own buff.
With everyone very low after that engagement, they're going to back off. They're going to try to go for the speed buff invade, but Nika's here, but a nice Fear No Evil does secure it, but look at this, Murrdurr's waiting for the jump over the wall.
And FrostiaK going to jump away. Murrdurr not going to use anything just yet. Finds the stun, no slow out of the ultimate out of Nika, but the Fire Giant pitching in as well. One shot out of FG, and one shot out of the support, and down goes FrostiaK.
He had no support by his side, unfortunately, after stealing the speed buff. I like the idea and the mindset, but there was no Giannis to really bail you out there. All his teammates were already low to the point where they had to back themselves. So now FrostiaK making a nice aggressive play, but he sacrifices his own life. And now Sanguine, if they really want to, they continue the aggression.
BigManTingz gets taunted, gets stunned, and some of the damage comes out, but ShadowNightmare, absolute beautiful pillar coming out from the mid lane on her right there. Just literally stops Sanguine in their tracks. They can't continue on the chase, and the support just waddles away.
It's going to be a reset right now. Murrdurr doesn't have much mana to play with in the mid lane. If Dignitas recognize this, they could potentially play forward here with the respawn from FrostiaK right now. He still has to wait a little bit for his ultimate to come back up. He has finished off the hi-rez Lament, so he's going to have a lot of burst damage, especially if he can land those lucky in-hand crits.
Solo laners making their rotation to this fight. It's going to be a battle here at the very least. BigManTingz in some trouble. A nice little silence out of the Isis. Ducky gets shoved against the wall. There's 4 players here, all looking for the duck, but he'll get away no problem. And And Sanguine, well, they'll get the right side mid Harpies.
Arkkyl made the rotation. Suntouch was trailing behind a little bit, forcing the Desert Fury under the tier 1 mid tower, but they're not done yet. They want to keep going.
Murrdurr jumps forward, and here comes the flank at a Team Dignitas. Murrdurr a little bit too far ahead. He's going to turn down and die. Suntouch puts number 6 on the board for Team Dignitas.
And look at this, Suntouch, they still wants to be aggressive. They're making the call, and that's going to force out Cherryo's ultimate with a nice aggressive lob that gets negated by the Fear No Evil.
Right on top comes the Athena and gets a kill for herself. FrostiaK is going to die, dashing away out of Ducky as well. 1 kill goes down as Murrdurr is taken out. But that's not going to be enough to turn anything into an objective.
Just 2 for 1 right now, favoring out Dignitas. They were able to get those 2 kills. They also almost killed Cherryo with a nice Scourge coming out of Ducky. But look at this. Look how aggressive Arkkyl is.
No surprise there. ShadowNightmare, not even going to call that a lazy back. That's a back that he's trying to make a statement. He wants to go back to base in the opponent's face. Arkkyl punishes him dearly, but Arkkyl gets punished for being a little bit too cheeky himself, trying to get the kill on Suntouch. TheDarkDodo trying to escape as well, but Murrdurr and Cherryo will show up, and the 2 Guardians will push Dignitas out the way.
1 for 1, training about both physical hunters right now. One is in the mid, one's in the duo, with Gold Fury still not responding for about another minute and a half. Both teams are still very safe, not having to worry about that next big objective. Buffs are not responding for quite a while right now, so there's going to be a little bit of lull in the action while both teams are going to try to get positioning with the sentry wards around this Gold Fury.
And right now there's been a lot of action here in our game, our first of 2, and it's 13 minutes on the clock. Things almost even here. 15 kills in total, and Dignitas own 8 of them, but the gold right down the middle. We've seen some spikes go in the way of Sanguine, but Dignitas always able to answer back.
Speaking of being so even right now, these teams are very close to even in the score charts right now, with Dignitas having 4 points, Sanguine at 3. This group is still wide open to try to get into that important top 2 position.
Yeah, whoever winds up, if there is a sweep here, both of these teams can wind up in a leadership position. Then, of course, if it does wind up as a split, both teams are just going to make one step further. Everybody's got to look towards everybody. Orbit has obviously been the numero uno team here, but you got to look towards Elevate. Sure, they've only got a couple of wins here today, but looking at the difference between their gameplay today versus yesterday, or even the latter part of today versus the earlier part of today, before Jermaine's pentakill, I think you could look at 2 drastically different teams.
And that's what's so nice to see about LAN specifically. You have the LAN meta develop, you have teams switch up their playstyle from day 1 going into day 2. And who would have thought right now that Susanna wouldn't be picked or banned in this set? Neither Ao Kwang, both of these teams prioritizing different picks.
Right side Harpies one more time as the face for a fight. Ducky comes over the wall, and there's the ultimate out of the mid lane on her. ShadowNightmare does what he can, but Sanguine seemingly takes no damage.
It's going to be the circle of protection that's going to be able to keep them up and alive, negating a lot of damage and then giving them that burst heal to stay irrelevant in the team fight.
There's the jump forward from Murrdurr, forces the jump backwards from FrostiaK. Nika is going to look at 2 players in the jungle, pushing Ducky all the way away from himself and his teammates, while the rest of the fight goes on towards the tower itself. 4 players grouping up from Sanguine, heading into the left side jungle.
Despite neither team really winning that, Sanguine managed to poke out Dignitas relatively well enough that they have the space control to continue the aggression onto Suntouch, finding the easy pickoff. There was no wards to spot it out. There was 2 sentries from Sanguine, and Suntouch was trying to face check the Gold Fury, but it was a nice bait from Sanguine instead.
Just a beautiful, intelligent play coming out from Sanguine. They telegraph their movements into the left side jungle. Obviously, they're going for the Gold Fury, right? Absolutely not. Surprise! We're going to show up here and smoke you out on top of your own buff. You know, when you're looking at that play, watching the team go towards Gold Fury, you said, hey, wait a second, there's not a window of opportunity here. So they force the window, they kick it open, they take down Suntouch, and then that question about is there enough room, all of a sudden the answer's right in front of you. 2K gold lead all of a sudden.
Perfect calculation tactics coming out of Sanguine because they didn't have the Isis ultimate to really secure the Gold Fury, so they needed to do that kind of a sneaky play, finding a numbers advantage. And now with a 5-on-4, Dignitas didn't really want to contest because they too didn't have the ultimates at the time.
Yeah, just no option really coming out there from Team Dignitas. A lot of vision, honestly, from both teams all across that left side of the jungle, and it just didn't matter. You just basically, Dignitas got to watch Sanguine make that play. That's kind of the downside to that situation. But right now, Dignitas now, they're down 2,000. Not really a death blow necessarily by any stretch of the imagination. We've seen much larger turnaround. Just today, Orbit turned around from about 6,000 gold, so certainly something that can happen.
And you can never count out a team that has a Hun Batz as their jungler right now. With the cooldown reduction from the Hydra's Lament and the Jotun's Wrath, there's could be a lot of rotations and aggressive plays from FrostiaK, just constantly burning out any sort of purifications.
Arkyl's going to get blinked on, teleported on, and ulted. There's Cherryo going to join the party as well. The Suns come down, and Arkkyl shows what he can, but Sunny does what he needs to do and takes down the Ho-Yi.
Forcing out the ultimate, and the Cherryo now without his dash, he could get turned on, but a whiff of the time stop, he's going to be able to pop the sprint and try to kite as long as possible.
Yeah, Cherryo's got a nice little tanky build going on. Witchblade, Void Stone, and able just to walk out of there above half HP, even dashing aggressively. Nice tanky build coming out from the jungle Athena today.
Dodo trying to poke out Ducky a little bit. Nika's trying to get something going with his positioning. If he finds a nice Fearless, that could allow the rest of his team to really find an easy pick, but he hasn't been really able to make the plays necessary.
Not quite just yet. Dignitas, you can tell right now, I would love to. So it's probably boring. We're not actually going to go to the comms for Team Dignitas at the moment. But right now, they're itching for a play. They're still in the game. They're down 2,000. And as it is, 2,000 gold is the beginning of a lead. It's not necessarily something to hang your hat on. It's something to think about hanging your hat on. So Dignitas, they're itching for that situation because they have a lot of the tools. Like you said, the Hun Batz ultimate, they can make a play at any point in time. I'm almost worried that Dignitas might look for a play when it's not there.
Well, they're going to force it on the left-hand side like we saw earlier on, and they're not afraid to take that risk. Even with the Athena ultimate online for Sanguine, they're just willing to constantly burn these purifications for the next round. But the fact that they got enough damage from Suntouch right there was very nice because of the red buff on top of this. So it's going to be Dignitas now with a little bit of more impact around the jungle side.
You know, it's interesting. We seem to have two different schools of thought when it comes to specifically Chronos and Sol. With respects to the Mage Hunters, is that you get your in-hand builds filled with Telkines rings and Demo grips, and then you've got your Mage builds, which usually come out with the Dumos, the Bancrofts, etc. This is a Mage build definitely coming out from Suntouch on the Chronos, but a little bit different. Third item, Ratatouille. Why don't you break that down?
That's a very quick Ratatouille. You're trying to stack up as much magical power for your time stop, time rep combination to do its work. But ShadowNightmare, though, he's in a little bit of trouble, taking a lot of damage from Dodo.
BigManTingz showing off his support style right there, just getting the knockup on the Cherryo, giving ShadowNightmare a little bit of breathing room, allowing the mid laner to escape what was almost certain death had BigManTingz not been there to protect his player.
But going back to Suntouch's build right now, not having the Telekines or the Demonic Grip doesn't give you the attack speed you really need to shred these towers. However, with Accelerate on the 4th tick, that's going to amplify your in-hand damage anyway, so by stacking magical power, you don't necessarily need all that attack speed items.
Is it a concern of lack of penetration at all?
It could be potentially later on, but in mid lane, it's going to be a nice little engage with Sanguine backing off. Suntouch on the left-hand side, he still wants to be so aggressive, but he's not going to connect on that time stop.
You know, actually, I very rarely will correct my co-caster, but I love the fact that that wasn't an engage. Sanguine went in and sort of showed their cards, and right when Dignitas looked for the counter engage, Sanguine completely just moonwalked away, and Dignitas wanted that fight. Dignitas are winning that fight, and Sanguine denied them the opportunity. Now, Dignitas going all in. There's a couple of ultimates. FrostiaK leading the way with the totem. Down comes the circle of protection. Watch the backside. Nika in trouble, gets healed up at the tail end of TheDarkDodo's ult. Not going to be enough as FrostiaK takes down Nika, but Arkkyl claims the life of FrostiaK. Arkkyl claims the life of Ducky. That's 2 for the Hunter. They're not done just yet. Suntouch gonna wiggle around in place. Silenced, not stunned, but taunted, and a nice stun from himself. Beautiful play from Suntouch. Absolutely beautiful play. Still not gonna be enough. Saves his life, but not the tower.
Dignitas is lucky that only 2 members fell there. Suntouch barely able to escape that, and now Sanguine, they're gonna be able to grab this Gold Fury off of the respawn. They still have an advantage with FrostiaK and Ducky being dead, but despite them having the numbers advantage, they're a little bit low right now. They're going to be very patient before they go on to this next big objective.
With a Bacchus in tow, you don't really want to make that gamble, in my opinion, because not only are you low taking the Gold Fury, Bacchus comes along, steals your gold, steals your life, steals your friends, your family. It's just too much. Belly flop intoxicate is a terrifying combination. So Sanguine going to play it safe, not going to go for the objective, and I like that call. Right now, with the kills that they got and the tier 1 in the mid lane, they've got a nice little comfortable lead, about 3,000 above Team Dignitas. Like I was saying about the 2K, it's not a giant lead. Dig can fight into it, but Sanguine right now, this is the time where they can start to make these plays to really rocket ship themselves ahead of the competition.
Cherryo still looking for an aggressive taunt in the jungle with his squad right behind him, and that's going to give the space control that Sanguine really need to start up the Gold Fury. If they want to, they could commit it with an Isis ult here, but then that would allow Dignitas for the counter engage with FrostiaK's ultimate.
And there's going to be the commit, down comes the Circle of Protection, and the Gold Fury goes the way of Sanguine. They got what they came for. Nika pushes and pulls, Ducky's in some trouble, while FrostiaK deals on the top side. BigManTingz gets one for himself. Cherryo down for the count. Ducky barely escapes, and Arkkyl gonna run away with that Sanctuary as well. Murrdurr pops out into the Dragon, and he's gonna get pushed around just a little bit. Sunny dealing with Nika on the backside, trying to find one solo kill, but not going to be able to clean it up. Suntouch and everybody walk their opposite ways. It's 4K now, as Sanguine take out the objective.
Very clean disengage also by Sanguine. Despite losing Cherryo in the process, they shouldn't lose really this tier 1 mid tower because it's going to be a bait. Murrdurr is right beside Dodo, and now they could turn it on to BigManTingz.
He's going to take the tower a little bit, totally, but I don't think it's going to be end for him. Might be a different story for Murrdurr, but ShadowNightmare is forced to jump away. TheDarkDodo with a good wing gust, making sure the Anhur can't get too aggressive.
All things said and done, Sanguine defend their tower, but nice little fearless onto Suntouch. He's caught in an awkward position, nowhere to go. That's a clean pick, but nice rotation from Nika.
And this could be big, 2 for Ducky right away. And there's the jump in plays coming out of the Jungle Monkey. Cherryo and Nika about half HP, both tanky targets. Over the top, Flip's gonna miss, but still trouble for FrostiaK. Jumps over the wall, excellent play, and now it's 1v3. It's Cherryo, or Ducky rather, by himself, surrounded by Cherryo and friends. Still, not going to be enough. That 19 Bellona certainly can bring the pain.
Especially with BigManTingz and ShadowNightmare right beside him. He has to retreat under the tier 1 mid tower. Sanguine conceding this objective. And now, the damage from ShadowNightmare coming from mid lane right now. He has the Executioner and the Aussie for enough penetration to really get this tier 2 tower.
2 kills, 0 deaths, and 4 assists for BigManTingz. He hasn't been central, but he's been able to show up exactly when his team needs him. Right there, a little bit off the mark when it comes to the belly flop, but able to provide a little bit of the pressure. Jumping forward is going to be Murrdurr, and BigManTingz is in trouble. Nika is going to try and save the life. Ducky gets the stun out of the ultimate. Here comes FrostiaK. ShadowNightmare shuts down one. FrostiaK gets the kill on the Cherryo as well, and Team Dignitas are looking to turn this one around.
FrostiaK was so patient during all that. He was able to steal speed, but now he's forced to jump away. The rest of his team is really backing off here, which is surprising because they just picked off 2 people. Now, Ducky, he was a little low there, as well as BigManTingz, so they don't have that tanky frontline presence. So they're going to back off. They don't want to overextend and give anything back towards Sanguine here.
Speaking of the tanky frontline presence, we're really starting to see it come out of Sanguine. Nika, Cherryo, Murrdurr, who are you going to kill? It's been relatively easy to find the kill on Arkkyl, right? Even still, he's positive with 5 kills, but he's died 4 separate times. After you kill him, right, TheDarkDodo is usually 20 miles away from the team fight. He's sitting all the way back, just tossing out these spears. Who are you going to kill? Murrdurr's not dying. Cherryo's not dying. Nika's not dying. That's kind of been the problem for Team Dignitas. They're unable to really find their footing in these team fights.
Well, they're very good about getting the counter engaged. So every time Sanguine commit onto somebody, we see the counter rotation from FrostiaK making the plays, and we see them now 15 kills to Sanguine's 11 right now because of just all these counter plays that they've been able to do. Now Suntouch, though, taking a lot of damage from Dodo yet again.
See ya. Cherryo comes right down on top right before the ultimate can finish. Suntouch goes nowhere.
Usually we see some winged blades coming out of Chronos trying to survive that initial burst damage just to get the rewind off, and I'm really surprised that Suntouch is going for such a glass cannon build. If he's left alone like the way he was on left-hand side, that's not going to be in his favor because all it took was 3 abilities to take him out.
I mean, you say 3 abilities, Defender of Olympus hits like a Mack truck. I don't know if I call that just a straight ability. But Fire Giant going to be started here by Sanguine. Half HP already. BigManTingz and Ducky are showing, but it's a full commit. Down come the Suns and the Ice's ultimate. Fire Giant goes the way of Sanguine, just like they wanted. Dignitas come on in, and they're going to try and provide some resistance, but Ducky goes nowhere, and TheDarkDodo puts down the Mallard.
And now with Ducky being dead, Sanguine having Fire Giant on all 5 members, they're running this game. They have complete control. If they really want to get these tier 2 towers, they certainly will. They're going to start off on the right-hand side first.
And they're going to keep pushing. Sanguine totally looking a little bit healthy here, looking for the tier 2 tower. Dignitas going to show up a little bit and play a little bit of defense, but I think this tier 2, yeah, this one's going to be free. Nobody from Dig really wants to defend this one. It's just a little bit it's too far down the line. Dignitas now grouping up towards the mid lane. They want to protect this tower, or rather this fight. Let's listen to Dignitas as they play defense and try to take down Sanguine.
Right, reset, Fafnir.
I just,
Yeah,
oh
tier
shit,
one, tier
get
one.
out. That's fine.
Everyone
down,
out.
torn down.
Move in 10, defend.
I have no ult though. Do we go here or no? No, I got nothing.
Nice poke.
I'm
on the way.
I just know these are rages. Oh yeah, okay. You run it back up then, run them down.
Yeah, run him down. I can possibly take
Okay, gold's up right now.
Yeah, you guys are fine. I'm gonna go left.
Yeah, gold's found.
They're staying. I saw him.
Can
Someone drop a ward, yeah.
I'm quite low, that's the problem. I don't have blink, I'll just walk around. Yeah.
Just stay right now, I'm just pushing mid wave.
I don't see anyone.
Just dash.
Okay, you guys are really far up. You need to back off. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, it isn't fine if they're there.
No, they aren't there. They're on gold. I mean, mid camp.
Mid camp,
Yeah, they're on here.
We just give up tier 1 right, and we can defend one of these tier 2s easily. We're not even that far behind.
Yeah, and they're killing.
That was our Steel Series Listen In, and I'm happy that we got to listen to that during the lull in the action. We always go during these intense team fights and hear, oh my god, hit him real hard, oh, beats down, right? And then we come back and talk about how smart they are for calling out a cooldown or two. Right there, we got to see and listen to Dignitas really break down and assess the situation. Are they going for gold? Should we go to gold? You guys are too far pushed up. All these thought processes, they talked about 4 or 5 different things that could happen and assessed the situation and checked off the box. Love the way that one went down, and now we're going to see Sanguine actually start the party.
You hope for the best and prepare for the worst at the same time right now.
This is the worst.
What's happening?
Nobody knows.
Well, it's Fire Giant on Sanguine right now, so they're just going to have to concede it. They didn't want to get the Gold Fear themselves after zoning out Sanguine. They thought that they could chase them down earlier on, but now it's going to be Sanguine getting another free objective, and they're conceding the tier 1 tower as well. It doesn't seem that they really want to contest this Fire Giant squad.
I understand not wanting to fight into the Fire Giant. I totally get that. Before the Gold Fury in the tier 1 tower, you were looking at a couple of 1,000 gold lead. That's a fight Dignitas can take. I absolutely think you need to see some of the defense by at least the Gold Fury. Instead, Dignitas going to group up on this tier 2.
Well, the thing is, like, they still have a lot of gold in hand, so they haven't spent all their gold after the Gold Fear, after the tier 1 tower. So it still could be a team fight that Dignitas can take here. They have the tools necessary with FrostiaK's ultimate. If Sanguine overcommits to that tier 2 tower, that ultimate's going to completely dissect it in 2.
Look at Nika trying to make the flank. Going to try to provide a little bit of assistance by jumping over the wall. Decides against it. Will group up. Nika and Murrdurr leading the way for Sanguine, trying to figure out when they can go. Obviously, going to wait for some of these minions to break those backdoor protections. Here comes the wave. ShadowNightmare going to drop the pillar to try and slow players and minions down. Dignitas now playing defense. Ducky throws out a little bit of a shot, but BigManTingz is the focus. FrostiaK's here, drops the totem, and drops the hammer. Trying to find the damage onto Arkkyl instead. It's on Dodo, but he's got Sanctuary already popped. Down come the Suns, and down come the Ultimates. Dignitas playing perfect defense, not letting Sanguine into their territory.
But Sanguine was patient enough not to overcommit onto the tier 2 tower quite yet. So now as a result, they're going to be chasing out past it, and it's going to be Suntouch in an awkward position, but the rewind just not in time with a nice crit from Arkkyl.
Perfect crit coming out there. Obviously, you can't plan for it, but when it comes, you're certainly going to take it. Sanguine take the tier 2 tower with just a single player down. Now pushing onto the Phoenix, half HP already. Dignitas trying to fight into the negative number situation. Cherryo already low, forced down. You can see FrostiaK trying to find the shot, can't, but Murrdurr is certainly the turnaround target. One is Arkkyl Arkkyl is down for the count, jumped on top. ShadowNightmare finds it with the disperse. Cherryo gonna try and hide behind the wall as Ducky takes down Nika. It's low on low. FrostiaK and Cherryo, both players, one hit available, and FrostiaK finds it with the ultimate. 4 players dead in Sanguine jerseys. Everybody ready to fight for Dig. 10 seconds left on Suntouch.
Despite losing Suntouch earlier on in that engagement, Dignitas recognized that they have the health advantage despite not having the numbers advantage, and they respected the fact that Sanguine, they could still fight, but they were so patient about their positioning as well. Just great juking from FrostiaK to prevent himself from getting fearless by Nika.
Last time these guys fought, Sanguine took 2 games, and a lot of the fights looked like the one we just saw. The major difference is Sanguine was able to back off and heal thanks to a Ra or a Guan Yu. Guess what? That ain't available this time. Dignitas keep chasing the players down with no available reset. Dig is able to find the wins in these team fights. Nobody can defend. Dignitas still trailing as far as the gold is concerned, about 6K, but that fire giant should even things up, and Dignitas looking to make a push.
Like we were mentioning before, Sanguine, they were sitting on too much gold in hand. They got the gold fear, they got 2 towers on the left-hand side, but they didn't back and reset. They instead kept going under the left side Phoenix. They thought the numbers advantage was good enough, but they should have made the more safe and calculated play by either backing off and spending the gold or transitioning under the tier 2 mid tower to get the last tower out of the game.
Yeah, just coulda, shoulda, woulda. Always hindsight 2020, right? But this time around, the teams have to adjust on the fly. Team Dignitas now, like I said, not technically in the lead, but momentum certainly on their side. Recent victors in their individual team fights. And then, of course, they have the Fire Giant to provide some of the numbers that they need next to the intangibles. So Dignitas now, they're spread out just a little bit, looking to push the waves up a little bit and then group up together. Where do you think their next target's going to be, Toli?
I think that Dignitas, they have to go towards the middle or left-hand side. Mid tower is very low, so it's going to be quick and easy. If Sanguine try to defend this tower, it's not going to be lasting for long. They're not going to be able to retreat under the safety. They're going to have to go past it into the Phoenix. So that's going to be a very tempting option for Dignitas moving forward.
Dignitas right now, as you said, grouping up a little bit towards the mid lane. Cherryo has to dash back to the safety of his squad. Sanguine grouped up and ready to play some defense. This time around, Dignitas has the Fire Giant buff.
And they have to worry about FrostiaK here. The way he's been engaging these team fights have been so problematic for Sanguine. And he still has the blink available if he really wants to. They can allow Ducky to initiate in first, wait for anyone to overextend from Sanguine, and then FrostiaK's ultimate is just going to completely devastate Sanguine.
That's what FrostiaK's looking for. You can see him hanging out in the corner, just around, away from the line of sight out of the enemy, able to blink should the situation warrant it. Not necessarily looking for the fight right now. Dignitas looking to strip the world of all its objectives. Down goes the tower in the mid lane, and down goes Gold Fury. Sanguine not going to be able to contest this one whatsoever. So Dignitas get this one easy peasy, and that will change things up as far as our gold is concerned.
I like this idea and mindset for Dignitas to play it safe and slow, because we saw what happened with Sanguine earlier, and this time they're adapting to the playstyle. Look at Suntouch's build now. He went glass cannons to start off the game, but now he's going into the Mad Guy's Blessing, and surely this is going to be an ethereal staff, because it's going to be a little bit too late to get this Warlock Sash up and running.
You know, Magi's Blessing is one of these items that is extremely niche. It's not going to be chosen all the time. In fact, it's bad most of the time. But here, in a game with a Fearless, a Taunt, and some of the stuns across the board, I think this is the right choice coming out for Suntouch. It's going to provide him a lot of protection, specifically where he needs it in that crowd control.
Especially during the Fearless, you can't Purification right away during the juggle, and if Arkkyl can get off 2 in his, that's all it's going to take to really burst down Suntouch before the rewind. And this is what it's going to take to start winning some of these games at land stages, is your ability to adapt, not only during picks and bans, but even sometimes in your itemization.
And just having complete game knowledge. A lot of times that Magi's Blessing just might be forgotten, right? Some of these other items that never really get purchased can just sort of slip your mind. Being able to make sure to dig deep into the game itself is certainly something that you need to have if you're going to be a winning team. And right now, Team Dignitas have all but tied the game up. Teams separated by maybe 100 gold. That is completely a tie game. And right now, Dignitas going to go home and spend all of the money that they've amassed over the past couple of minutes and certainly the scene will look a little different.
FrostiaK had 3,000 gold, finishing off that Mantle of Discord. He's going to be very tanky once he dives into that backline, so even turning on him is going to be interesting for Sanguine to find the kill. They have the CC necessary, but the question is, do they have the damage? As long as Arkkyl gets constantly coerced here with his build, it should be yes.
Let's take a look. We will certainly take a look. 36 minutes on the clock, and things have come back to a screeching halt. Dignitas now waiting for the play out of the Fire Giant, and Sanguine gonna look to seal that one away, most likely.
So even right now is this game. Dignitas having the sentry control on the top side of those right mid harpies, but bottom side, neither team controlling with sentries. They're just regular warding it. And it could be Sanguine making the first move here. Cherryo is leading the pack. He could be looking for that dash taunt, but it's not going to be on Suntouch with that Mad Guy's Blessing anymore.
Not quite. Here's a nice Spirit Ball, just trying to poke and honestly remove the bubble around Suntouch for sure. Dashing away is Cherryo. No damage through the wall from Suntouch despite the effort.
Not going to find the Purification onto ShadowNightmare either. The Spirit Ball could have been used after the taunt, but just not on the mark for the Anhur players. So it's going to be now Dignitas with a little bit of a positional advantage.
Nice taunt into some of the damage. Ducky down to about 75% HP. The Fire Giant has been woken up, so he's doing some of the damage as well. Just a little bit to BigManTingz.
Cherryo yet again still leading the pack. He's going to try to go for a taunt onto ShadowNightmare, but not going to really find it. It's going to be backing off yet again, waiting for the cooldown to reset. And this is the dancing game that we normally see at this stage. 37 minutes into the game. Sanguine has some really good CC options, but a nice impale from ShadowNightmare is going to prevent that from happening.
This is one of those situations where next team fight could spell disaster at the end of the match. Arkkyl gets jumped on, and quickly Sanguine plays safe.
Still waiting for the right opportunity. Sentry Ward favoring Sanguines right now on the Fire Giant, on the right top side, right mid harpies, and that's going to force Dignitas back right now. For all they know, they could have been on the Fire Giant, but it's going to be BigManTingz getting taunted in with a nice Spirit Ball combination. Do they have the damage?
I'm not quite sure, but there's a FrostiaK ultimate to try and turn things around. Team Dignitas now with the counter engage. Ducky very deep by himself, stunned out during the hammer, and he's going to be in some trouble. There's Sanguine trying to turn things around, and FrostiaK gets taunted on the side, forced to use Purification and find a way out. He's found it, but he can't walk through it. Down goes the monkey, and Murrdurr gets credit off of the assist of everybody on Sanguine.
FrostiaK was just a little bit too patient there. He didn't pull the trigger when he really needed to. All the cooldowns that were being absorbed by BigManTingz, Dignitas should have instantly responded and be like, go, go, go. Now's our time to fight. And now, because of that, FrostiaK falls after the delayed team fight, and now it's going to be Sanguine forcing the Fire Giant.
Ducky's the only one here, and again, surrounded, and he's just gone. Arkkyl gets credit for that one. It's now a 3-on-5 fight around the Fire Giant. Nika finds the flip over the top, slows down Suntouch, and the hunter from the mid lane, ShadowNightmare, not going to be enough. Down to its very last piece of HP. Fire Giant goes to Sanguine, while everybody else zones out the opposition.
Now the question is, can they get anything off of this Fire Giant? Cherryo's going to not find the taunt because a beautiful impale from ShadowNightmare. He's been so on point with these impales, preventing the initiation.
I mean, he's frequently played this on her in the mid lane. We saw it a couple times during the regular season out there on online play, so certainly no surprise that he's able to really bring the mechanics when it comes to the on her as well.
And this time Sanguine taking their time with their Fire Giant. They're going for the tier 2 tower in mid, stealing the buffs away from Dignitas instead of overextending towards the Phoenixes, despite Ducky being dead here. We saw what Dignitas was able to do 4v5. All they really need is a great initiation from FrostiaK in their favor.
And that's certainly what we've seen, honestly. We've seen a lot of the counter initiations, let me correct myself, out of FrostiaK. Every time Sanguine start to think about the fight, FrostiaK kind of jumps into the backline and drops the ultimate, and it's been very successful up until a point. Now when we see FrostiaK do that, there isn't any real follow-up from the rest of Team Dignitas, and it's not because Dignitas are just ignoring the call or not following FrostiaK. It's because Sanguine's doing a very good job of creating this separation.
they're just going to have to be a little bit more patient playing around that big ultimate. And you can never count out Dignitas because of that fact. If Sanguine wait a little bit too long, then the damage is already there for Dignitas, so all they have to do is commit onto the same target. And if they can also take advantage of the fact that all the cooldowns were used from Sanguine compared to the last engagement, they should be able to counter-engage, which is the strongest part of Dignitas' team composition, I would say.
I'd agree with that one. But Dignitas have to get to that counter initiation spot. Right now, Sanguine, they've got all their ultimates up and a Fire Giant buff around their waist. They're looking to make this push up the left or mid. Can't seem to completely make up their mind.
Nice little obelisk from ShadowNightmare preventing the stun from Murrdurr. So Sanguine going to position themselves for the left side Phoenix yet again, the most important one, but a nice belly flop from BigManTingz.
There's a shot from TheDarkDodo, long range style. And again, Sanguine playing it safe, not going to commit.
They're just waiting for the Fire Giant regen if they ever get poked out. They're going to try to force anyone back under the Phoenix and the Titan, but that's going to be a nice purification burned by Cherryo onto ShadowNightmare.
Here comes Dignitas from the right side. FrostiaK going to drop the ultimate. Immediately, TheDarkDodo responds with one of his own. There comes the Bellona from the backside. ShadowNightmare gets the first kill, but is answered back by Arkkyl on the left side for Sanguine. 1 for 1 so far. Looks like Sanguine are trying to decide if they want to retreat, but Dignitas won't let them. Cherryo gets knocked up. Suntouch finds the rewind, and he's certainly going to stay aggressive. Cherryo dashes forward. ShadowNightmare in trouble, jumping away. So is FrostiaK, and Sanguine find the jump. Murrdurr puts number 18 on the board for his squad.
And they're going to continue on the aggression now. Nika getting ultied by Cherryo. They should be able to get this left side. Phoenix, a nice taunt onto Suntouch. There should be a kill.
Wow.
He has nowhere to go, and the left side Phoenix is going to fall.
Gone very, very quickly. Left Phoenix suffers the same fate that Suntouch did. 3 players dead on the side of Team Dignitas for a long time, Anatoly. Ducky comes up in 20 seconds. Is it enough?
It's not going to be enough right now because the second Phoenix falls. Sanguine going over to the third with 15 seconds for Ducky. There's no time for him to defend this Phoenix, but it's going to stop them, at least for the time being, on the Titan room. And now ShadowNightmare forced to disengage, but a Lawbringer going to slow him down.
Nice belly flop coming out of BigManTingz to protect one more time his mid lane, but it's not going to happen. Nika finds the slash.
And they're still continuing on. They're pushing the Titan room while getting the right side Phoenix at the same time. With all the respawns coming, with FrostiaK respawning in 10 seconds, Sanguine's going to back off right now, wait just a little bit more because Fire Giant's buff has expired right now. It's respawning in about 1 minute, and that's going to be the next objective Sanguine go for before ending the game.
That's the final push, Anatoly. They're going to look for that Fire Giant. Dignitas not going to be able to provide much resistance for that either. The Fire Giant will go down pretty much without a care in the world for Sanguine because Dignitas will be relegated to protecting their Titan from the fire minions. So Sanguine will get that pretty much for free unless Dignitas really play something cheeky.
And the way the last fight engaged on the left-hand side was really a good start for Sanguine because the Ice's ultimate negated a lot of damage from Ducky's ultimate. He used Eagle's Rally on top of the Circle of Protection, trying to fight the aura with the aura. And that definitely favored Sanguine in the long run because of the fact that they had the Fire Giant and they had the damage mitigation as well as the heal.
So this time around, Sanguine, they don't have the heal, but they certainly have the Dodo ultimate, which has been a big deal. We're talking a lot about how Dignitas are able to provide this fantastic counter initiation out of FrostiaK, but as soon as that comes down, TheDarkDodo is dropping the Circle of Protection to provide that little bit of sustain and help that Sanguine need.
And with all 3 Phoenixes being down for Dignitas, there's no possible way they can contest this Fire Giant. It's going to go for free to Sanguine at the 44-minute mark, and now all their gold is spent. They have the late game items that they really need to. They have the regen and the objective damage with this buff. They're just all going to group up as a cohesive unit and try to find the next pick to end the game.
Well, Sanguine right here going to group up towards the mid lane. You can see Nika by himself. Such a standout player this weekend. He has looked absolutely phenomenal. At times, better than the rest of his squad, if you ask this caster. But right now, Sanguine are grouped. They're juiced. They're ready to play. Fire Giant around their waist. Jumping forward is Nika. He's going to lead the charge. The Chaos Titan was one standing. FrostiaK will do his best, but it ain't no thing. Chaos Titan goes down, and Sanguine find themselves on top of Dig one more time.
It's the rematch right now between Sanguine and Dignitas, and this time around, Sanguine win again. So it's going to be, if there's ever a tied situation between these two teams, Sanguine have the head-to-head record.
Absolutely, and this one's out of this world because we watched them yesterday, and I'm not alone in thinking that Sanguine is not the top seed in this matchup. You watch it game 1, I said, man, all right, this is almost pretty good. You watch them game 2, I said, all right, wow, that you can't call it a fluke if you win 2, but you win 3. I don't know. That one, I can't wrap my head around it. Good thing I got some good help. I've got 3 analysts, Hinduman, Taco, and that guy Dazer. Why don't you break it down for us?
Bit of a crazy first game between these two, considering they faced off yesterday. Let's wrap it right back to the beginning before we go into the depth of the fact Sanguine won that game and made him tied up at 4 points already with 1 game left to play. Redemption for Ducky. You called him, Taco, that you said you expect him to go off that game, and he did at the start.
Yeah, I was really expecting Ducky. I don't know, just something about his demeanor today. It just seemed like he was really prepared and ready to come in at the start. And he came out and did an excellent job, but it seems Cherryo on that Athena, he just really knew what he was doing, and he did an excellent job, I think, in comparison to the last set against Elevate with that Athena combo.
We discussed this, Dazer, as well. Like Cherryo, the last set we saw him play, people seem to have worked out how to deal with the Athena. Not the case.
Yeah, no, I think in this game, Dig let Cherryo do. I mean, there was a lot of mistakes on both sides, but I feel like this game they really let Athena do what she wanted. Like they gave her the pressure on the map where she could just keep on dashing in and getting these taunts.
Now, talk to me a little bit about that, you two, as well, because for the first 35 minutes of that game, it was very messy from both teams. I don't think either team could really be happy with their performance there.
No, I don't really think so. In all honesty, there was so many mistakes on both sides. That's why there were so many kills in this game. Yeah. I feel like there's just a lot of overextension and a lot of a lot of overcommitment. And in reality, they just need to pull back and just really level their heads.
Well, FrostiaK could be happy with this one, Taco, with his first blood at the start, especially after the things he said and the mistakes he made by saying those things. And Ducky came off a great start, but he wasn't able to carry this team. We saw some ultimates later game from him that you guys, you analysts were saying, a little bit suspect.
Yeah, I really didn't like how a couple of times Ducky had these Bellona ults going straight into the Isis ult, and I think that while Ducky's original intentions behind it were good for the team, the Isis ult itself was just negating that Bellona protections coming out from her ultimate, and I think if anything it was more of a negative factor for Dig because they needed that ult closer to the team rather than him trying to commit too much onto Dodo and him just getting away with it.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why the Isis did so much well this game. It really denied the engage from Dignitas. Like the Bellona trying to jump in, the Isis ult just comes down and she can't do anything at that point.
Well, most important thing for these teams, they are heading to Worlds, guys, and just a reminder, tickets are still on sale right now for SWC, hi-rezexpo.com. Head over there and get your tickets. Don't forget, exclusive 25% off for typing Group-A, and that's what both these analysts are representing, Group A.
Yeah.
Out of interest, actually, with you two, are you both happy with the groups you got drawn into?
I think, if anything, I know there was a lot of flashback towards the teams in particular that made it through to this first group, but in all fairness, no, I don't think anybody could have really predicted the seeding that came out from every single group. I think it was pretty unexpected, to be honest.
What about you, Dazer?
In our minds, this was definitely the easier group. I feel like in the second group, European group even, there's a lot of the teams there, they really have such... They play so weirdly, especially Cyclone, they're really a dark horse in my mind.
True.
CC, they can come out really strong when they do.
Well, back to this game then. I mean, dark horses, Sanguine seem to be the real dark horse here. Obviously, Elevate showed some signs because they defeated Sanguine earlier on. But that game, 35 minutes in, we were all even. They both had a fire giant each, and then we had a 4-minute dance around the fire giant that resulted in Sanguine basically running away with the game then.